technically speaking, I ain't supposed to be doing is teaching you about the music industry to those that are new to this. He was dropping the same jewels back then. But we wasn't, well, I was already gone, so maybe I was already locked up for 7 years. So I was raised inside a penitentiary on Public Enemy, on KRS-One, on Rock Hill.
They've been to every jail in the country.
I know, I was at one of the concerts, now I'm not gonna get to that.
Oh, okay,
So they used to come in, and you know, they gave us that energy, and they gave us a spark of knowledge. Also, the older individuals inside of the prison gave us that spark of knowledge, and made me go to college, made me take leadership courses, even though I didn't follow or listen to it, I just went at the time, because you can get out, you can get in the shower every day. But it turned into something more than that. It turned into me being able to be comfortable in these spaces to speak. And by me galvanizing, we're here today because of different energy and different people from the past. But my point is this, it has to come back to us as parents, us as men inside the community, where if they listen to the music, we can explain to them why, you know, that's just entertainment.
Right.
That's not real. That rapper ain't doing this.
Right.
That rapper ain't even thinking about doing that.
He kill
That
nobody.
rapper got a contract, he spit music that he wanna hear, that's entertainment, that's not life.
Selling lies.
Those young people that just left that panel, and you know what I'm saying, that's who we should be having our kids come here and see. And so they can feel something is right. They gonna be powerful. I see another Tamika Mallory out there, another, my son, Jesse Jackson, you know, that's my, I'm from Chicago too. Quick story about him, he used to do the Rainbow Coalition when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, he used to invite us to the hotels or whatever, but I was one of the ones that just stayed up to the hotel and had parties. I didn't come down to the conferences, so they kicked me out of the whole situation. But I say that to say that, you know, one of that young man out there, he listened, he stayed around, and he went downstairs to the conferences. Oh, I wish I would have went downstairs, but that wasn't my road to take. My road is here, my road is now. And again, music, beautiful, messages and everything, but it comes back to black men being inside the community, raising those kids to stop them from going out there and being influenced by only the music. Because I thank God I didn't grow up in the gangster rap era. But just imagine my crew listening to that and then going out doing what we did. It'd have been over with. I'd have had 1,000,000 years.
Putting the mass to
You know
work.
what I'm saying? But the music was so intense back then, you almost had to be. You thought you had to be a gangster just to be a man. Go ahead.
So I just want to make a statement, but I also want to ask a question. The statement I got is, what do we do with social engineering, right? And so we know that social engineering is inflicted through social media, right, music, you know what I'm saying, through TV, through the idiot tube and all of these other things, through videos and so forth, right? So we now know most of the time our kids spend most of their time on social media, which is the algorithm, right, that inflicts social, you know, it inflicts that piece on it, right? So how do we get in and dismantle, right, social engineering, right, that sends out these poor signals, right, to poor people, poor mindsets, and that inflicts that type of energy.
He just answered that
He
question.
just told you, we gotta turn up our signal louder than theirs.
Right.
Because we're not gonna be able to suppress
But
all of that madness.
But let's talk about this, right? How do we get in the front of, right, the influences, the influencers that get paid to dumb down, right? So now we know most people get paid a lot of money to act ignorant, right? So how do we as people that's knowledgeable, that has this mindset, how do we get in front of the influencers or the entertainers that dumb down and inflict this pain on our kids?
I think we go by what Hank said. It's for the boycott. When you left off the boycott.
No, I was here, I heard that.
He left off the boycott corporation.
Right.
Boycott them.
Because the thing is, money talks.
Right.
And what Andrea said, when you said the influencers, who are the politicians influenced by? The money. Who got the money? The corporation. So we can't go to the corporation, to the politicians. We need to be going to the corporations that's funding the politicians and say, if you're gonna be funding this dude, then we're not gonna shop here no more. Nobody, what we gotta realize where our power is at. Our power is, like they say, within the dollar, the black dollar.
Right.
We spend a whole lot of money in this country, and so that's where our power is at, and we can take that power back by doing just that. So look, we're not gonna spend our money, we're just done with the whole race, we're gonna step away, and then that's where the ostracism, I took out ostracism and excommunication, we're not gonna deal with you no more. Anybody that's shopping over here, you can just consider yourself not even a part of our people, not even part of our community. And that's what I've been teaching people, like, what Noah's Ark was all about.
Right.
That's what Noah's Ark was all about. I wanna give Brother Horace a chance to answer this question before we move on. And what do you think the hip hop role should be, or is in our community?
Well, when it comes to music, I'm greatly influenced by the '60s and the '50s. And one of the things that was going on with the spoken word, when I was coming up, it was the spoken word. We relied on poets. We relied on people, we relied on like the last poets, Nicky Giovanni, the guys that wrote that wrote books, poetry books, Gwendolyn Brooks, Charles Robinson, Anthony Ford. These were guys that wrote poetry and messages to the community. They had little books, they had little pamphlets that they used to put the spoken word on, and they used to do a little pop-up in the community and pass them out. So I'm greatly influenced by the spoken word. Those of us that may not be able to remember, there was a group called the Persuasions. They were an a cappella group, and their whole word, their whole message that they brought to the community or brought to black people or to black children was a positive message that they would bring forth. And then there was a book I read, Rapping on 125th Street by Gil Scott-Heron. And Gil wrote in this book about the power of the spoken word. And so, and I said all that to say this, that when hip hop came along, I was greatly I really didn't pay hip hop a lot of attention until I got into my bit. Then I began to look at how powerful the hip hop generation, or what they call it, the spoken word, because when I first started listening to hip hop, I was listening to like guys like KRS. I was listening to guys that were sending a message in their word, in their songs, and what they said. In Public Enemy, and I thought Public Enemy was one of the most powerful influences for the spoken word during this particular time. So I think the message is the message that you bring should be the main important thing, and it should be a social message, a message that can change a person's life, a message that a person can be inspired to do things, to do other things, to look in other professions, to get into this engineering, to get into the virtual stuff. Even back then when the internet was coming up, you know, we began to see 80% of our kids into a lot of hip hop, but they were into a lot of negative things because they were being greatly influenced by that. I spent 33 years in the federal penitentiary, and I watched my young brothers come in, and they would listen to a certain lyric, and they said, oh, he said something about so and so and so and so, and there were big beefs that would come out of this. And I think that the message, as the brothers was pointing out, the message has gotten off track into gangster rap. You know, the spoken word to me is one of our most important oral communications in the community. We may not been able to get that record ourselves, but somebody word of mouth would pass that word around. If you were old enough to remember those things, when they would pass that word around, and I think that the influence of negativity comes from the power of economical and social conditions that these men find they under, that they must chase after that capitalism dollar. So I think the spoken word has changed a lot. You know, it's changed a lot. Even the books that they put out now is, they don't tell the story. You know, they don't tell the story. There's a book called Howard Street by Young Halls. But there's an important book by Samuel Green called The Spook Who Sat by the Door. And in this particular book, he's a CIA agent, but he explains all of how he infiltrated the CIA and the things that they were doing, and changed a lot of people's minds with this particular book because it had a message in it. And I think that the spoken word should be along, the hip hop word should come along with a written message that can go out to the youngsters. This is just how I see it. But I see hip hop as a strong message, a strong oral message to the community if put out there right, you know. And they spoke about some of the economical conditions that they make men chase after, these young brothers chase after. They talk about boycotting certain artists. Myself, I believe that there's certain artists in music that should never get out on the mainstream. Should never be out on the mainstream. But I think that there is 80% of the music out there from the hip hop should have a chance to put that message out there so they can bring that credible message to the community. See, if the message is credible, then the source messenger, that's us, we will be able to receive that message and be able to act on that message in a positive way.
Thank you. I got a thought, I want to spit it out there while it's here, to give you what you need, because when we as reporters respond, we give the people the violation that they're undergoing, then we give them the remedy. Now, you attack the most vulnerable person, because that's called cheating. We want to win with small, with light. We have to hit and run like guerrilla warfare, because they call our broadcasts through the years guerrilla news. What we have to do, we have to get the person who is the biggest perpetrator or the best manifestations of what we are saying here today. And then we have to find that one individual, and we have to destroy his record label, we destroy him. Now, if you want to, in my opinion, look at who you could single out and you beat the crap out of him, and then everybody else that looks at you beat him, then they'll fall in line. We could use Drake, because Drake is a perfect example of what everybody's saying. He's the embodiment of this, because why? Drake has a Jewish mother and he has a Jamaican father. He's from Canada. Drake does not identify as being black. When he was interviewed, he said, "Oh, the African Americans in America, they love me because they identify with what I say." But Drake was raised as a Jewish man. He had a bar mitzvah, he had the yarmulke, and they practiced all of his Jewish culture. And they never used the slur, kike, which is a Jewish slur. But if you listen to every record that Drake has, nigger, 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 nigger is laced rampant throughout his music. So he said, I can go on with a perfect example again and again, but you would have to take one of those people and you will have to hammer him, because he's being honored with all of these awards to call us nigger. Okay, and if you're gonna do it, you're gonna have to get one of them, and you're gonna have to single him out, and you're gonna have to beat the crap out of him with that cancel culture crap. See, the cancel culture crap is for weak people that they're attacking. They don't do that to the strong people. And that's the thing, we have to draw the line somewhere, like this brother said. And if you target it in a grassroots approach, you will win. But you gotta pick your target, and then all the ancillary support networks that individual uses, you have to bombard them with your attack. And then you will win.
systematic attack, that's what they do to us. When I had, started doing this, about a month ago, I found, no, not a month, before the, around the Capitol riot, actually, I do a lot of research. And so, you know, when they, stormed the Capitol, they call it, we were doing the, we were preparing for the 100-year centennial commemoration of Black Wall Street. So when I went and did my research on Black Wall Street, trying to find out about all the other Black Wall Streets, I just come across some information. So the, when they stormed the Capitol, that was like the 100-year anniversary from when the white supremacists, the KKK, marched on Washington, D.C. And they wasn't called that, was called Protestant Christians. So, and they had on their hoods and sheets. But they said, these are Protestant Christians, you know? And they did a march in Washington, D.C., 100 years prior to them storming the Capitol. So, you know, we gotta take these type of things into consideration. And so when I looked at that, I'm saying, oh, this is the system that we're supporting and we're fighting to be a part of. We're fighting to be a part of a system that the KKK built. I got a minister license, but I don't like calling myself a minister. I don't even like using my minister license, all because of the Catholic Church. I don't want to be affiliated with pedophiles. The people we call it hiding behind the banner, hiding behind a Christian banner. So I don't want to be affiliated with that, so I don't use my minister license. And so when I looked up and I found out there's actually a word called hypocrisy, like hypocrisy, but hypocrisy. And it's spelled HIPHOPCRASY. And you know what it means? To hold one's people accountable. And that's the answer to your question and what he's been saying. In order to stop what's happening to us, we have to hold us accountable. And that's what everybody's saying. You know, it starts with the parents though. You know, and the kids looking at the parents being influenced by media, loving stuff that's on TV. What do you think the kid is gonna do? And see, our generation, our parents' generation grew up influenced by the media and all forms of like writing, publications, all those are forms of media controlled by Satan. And that's why